Now we'll step through the questions we have in our quiz for this week related to belt drives. What I wanted to say to you was you do whatever works. And in my particular case, I have slow processing speed, and keeping up with this level of detail is very hard for me. And especially if I'm in the workplace, it's hard for me. So what I do, and maybe this will work for you, I make myself what I call a cookbook. Essentially, these PowerPoints are your cookbooks. So I have a template of steps. Here's an example of a drive. Here are the steps I went through. And then when I have to do a new drive, I just slow way down and I look at each step in that cookbook, one step at a time. What did I do here? Okay, now I'll do that here. What did I do over there? Now I'll do that step here. And I found that after I had followed my cookbook and done several different examples, I wasn't quite as slow, and I was able to work through it. So I hope that you have that experience too. And you might share with each other if you have other tricks for getting through this massive information. That would be good to know about. So here's our template, template number 2. We did one in the previous PowerPoint. This is for the quiz. We're running a furnace blower. And we have an 1800 RPM 3 horsepower motor. It's going to run 8 hours a day, so normal service, and we want the blower shaft to turn 1115 RPM, and we're going to start out with a center distance of 16 inches. We'll see if we have to change that. All right, blower. First, we need to find our service factor. Can we find blowers? Yes, there they are. Now we look for normal service 8 hours a day. There it is. So here is our service factor. We have a 3 horsepower motor and a service factor of 1.1. So what is 3 times 1.1? That's our design horsepower. Now let's pick a belt. We have a motor RPM of 1750. We have a design horsepower of 3.3. We just figured that out in the previous step. So looks like we are in the territory of an A belt. An A belt will be strong enough, we can use that. Now, what is the smallest size of sheave we could use? What is the minimum diameter? We've got a 1750 RPM motor. We've got a motor horsepower of 3. So there's our minimum sheave diameter. We could use a sheave with a pitch diameter of 2.5 or anything bigger. Now let's figure out our speed ratio. Our motor, the motor is always the fast one. Our motor is 1750 actual speed. Our blower, we want it to be 1115. So what does that come out with? Probably 1.57, eh? Well, we can look in our chart because they figure it out for us. So here's the area for the 1750 RPM motors. Here are the speeds. And our blower, we want it to be 1115 RPMs. So sure enough, it turns out, according to their chart, our speed ratio is 1.57. Alrighty. Now that we know that, we can find a sheave combination that uses an A-size belt. Any of these sheave combinations will give us the right speed ratio. And in our case, we could use any of these because all of them are bigger than 2.5 pitch diameter, so any one of those would work. Let's just pick out this middle range of sheave combinations, just 'cause. So we'll have the smaller motor sheave with a pitch diameter of 3.5 and the larger blower sheave with a pitch diameter of 5.5. Now, oh, and by the way, this is the left half of that big old long chart and the right half of the big old long chart. So let's find a belt that will work. And here are some belt sizes and their center distances. There's a center distance of 5.5. Ooh, that's way too short. Oh, center distance of 11, center distance of 16. Oh, center distance of 16, that's the original center distance we wanted. So we can go to the right half of our chart and see, are any of these any better? No, they're too long. So, yay, we'll use this A45 belt because it has a center distance of 16. We won't have to adjust anything when we design our motor mount stuff. All right, goody. Now, how many horsepower per belt can we get? Here's the sheave combination we're using, and here is the horsepower per belt. So we could get 2.69 horsepower out of each belt, however many belts we have. But we need an arc length correction factor. If we're using an A45 belt, has a center distance of 16, we need a correction factor of 0.88. Why? Because we don't have 180 degrees of belt wrap. We have less belt wrap, so we need a factor. We can't pull as many horsepower as we thought, so we need a factor. All right. So 2.69 horsepower per belt times a factor of 0.88 will give us the number of belts that we need. We had a design horsepower of 3.3. Back in the very beginning, we had a 3 horsepower motor with a service factor of 1.1, so we're designing our drive as if we had a horsepower of 3.3. And when we did 2.69 times 0.88, we should have gotten an actual horsepower per belt of 2.367. So, design horsepower of 3.3, horsepower of 2.367. Do you need more than one belt, do you think? I bet you do. So there you are.